Welcome back. As you know, I am Eli, the computer guy, here for the Daily Blob, where I shake my brain nipples every day to get some of that dirty YouTube money so I can afford to provide in-person technology classes to you folks in Durham, North Carolina. I'm actually, after I do these videos, I'm taking off to Durham. 3.5-hour commute to teach these classes. Anyways, I do Silicon Dojo, silicondojo.com. Basically, in-person, hands-on technology education that empowers you to do whatever the fuck it is that you want to do. That is free to the end user. You simply come, you learn, you do with it as you will, and you go the hell away. It's a good old time. We had a class a couple of weeks ago. We have this class. We have a few more classes that are about to be scheduled. Imagine a YouTube, like an accessible education program that's hands-on, that's as accessible as YouTube, but it's in person. That's what I'm trying to go for. But anyways, let me stop procrastinating from having to do that 3.5-hour drive to talk about the insanity going on in the AI world today. And I want you all to understand, I want you to all to look into my eyes as I say, this is not an AI bubble. This is not complete and utter financial and economic idiocy. Do you believe me? Because if you do, you're a freaking moron. Distrust, verify, stay suspicious, and if somebody's being stupid, you call them fucking stupid. You don't just go along with it. So anyways, we have this AI disaster going on currently, and a lot of people, I don't know, they don't seem to grasp what I'm trying to say here. LLMs, let me not say AI, LLMs, multimodal models, reasoning models, these models are very pivotal to the technology world. They're very important. They're just not worth $4 trillion for one company alone, right? To be clear, when I talk about this stuff, right, Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, wants to spend $4 trillion in CapEx expenses just to build out his data centers. That's one of these bastards. That's one. This is not a $4 trillion market. This is $4 trillion just in CapEx expense for one company. Then you got OpenAI, and you've got xAI, and you've got Anthropic, and you've got Mistral, and all the other big companies are in it, Google, and Apple, and Meta, and all of that. Like, if you listen to these people talk, I guess they think it's like a $40 trillion industry. You know how valuable AI is? It's as valuable as all human production in the entire world per year infinitum. And I just gotta say, look, it's just not that valuable. Something can be valuable and not be that. And but the problem we get to with the financialization of everything at this point, especially in American society, is that all the money is in the stock. The money is not in the profit anymore. The money is in the stock value. When you look at really wealthy people, when you look at Jeff Bezos, when you look at Elon Musk, when you look at Mark Zuckerberg, they do not have their wealth off of the insane profit that is coming in from their companies. Right? That's how Carnegie made his money, right? That's how the old schoolers made their money. No, they don't have their money from that. They have their money from stock valuation. Now the issue is, right, for investors, right? If you're an investor, you don't want to buy for one price and sell for the exact same price. You don't want to buy for one price and sell for less. You don't want to buy for the same price for one price and get a little bit more, right? You want a 10x return. If I invest in OpenAI and it's worth $500 billion, my expectation, my want, is that it's going to get to be a $5 trillion company. So I can get that nice 10x return. And then somebody else is going to invest at the $5 trillion mark with the hope that it's going to get to be a $50 trillion company. Do you start to understand how these numbers just get stupid? Shockingly quick. And the problem is, though, right, for a lot of these companies, so much of their value is wrapped up in stock. The reason their stock has value is because people want explosive growth. And then what happens when you can't guarantee explosive growth? You get this fucking level of stupidity. Again, with the whole AI thing, you've got to understand the incestuous nature of these syphilitic bastards in Silicon Valley at this point. Even in the tech world, we haven't seen this before. They're all in it together, right? So OpenAI does a commitment with Oracle for $300 billion in data center services. Nvidia invests $100 billion into OpenAI to purchase $100 billion worth of Nvidia hardware. OpenAI is working with Microsoft. Microsoft owns $10 billion worth of shares in OpenAI. OpenAI is also working with Google, right? All of these companies are working together on the most idiotic, just again, is it fraud when they're doing it right in front of you? Look, this is how we squeeze the oil out of the snake. And now this snake oil will definitely cure your cancer. Pay me $50,000, right? If you literally watch the guy squeeze the snake for the oil, is it still fraud? I don't know, but it's still dumb. It's still dumb. Don't take the fucking snake oil. Anyways, yeah, so this is being reported on a lot of different places. I had to find a news source that I could actually get into now. Everybody has walls anymore. So anyways, this is from some garbage news source, but this has been reported on Reuters and Bloomberg and all that. Fuck me. Oh, the level of stupidity. Nvidia stock tests investor nerves as it considers guaranteeing OpenAI loans. So now not only is Nvidia investing $100 billion in OpenAI so that OpenAI can turn around and buy $100 billion in hardware, but now to make sure that OpenAI can get the loans in order to build the data centers and get all that CapEx expense, right? Nvidia is now looking at guaranteeing the loans. Jesus fucking Christ. Remember when I used to say, that SoftBank was probably the stupidest group of motherfuckers to walk into the tech scene in a long time? Yeah, these people are getting worse, right? That was the whole thing with WeWork, right? So when you're investing in companies, the idea is that every round of investment should be led by a different investing group or a different investing person. The idea is the first round, somebody leads, and then there's additional, basically people tack their investments onto that. And then the next round, somebody else leads, the next round, somebody else leads, the next round, somebody else leads. And the reason that you do that is to make sure that you don't believe your own crap. You're not sniffing your own farts, right? So I believe the company is worth $1 billion. I'm going to lead this round, right? Put in the most investment, and other people are going to add additional investment to that. And so that's how this round is going to be done. The next round that comes up, I am not going to lead. I will follow somebody else's investment. So we go out there and we say, we think this company is now worth $5 billion. Going. Who's willing to lead this round at a $5 billion valuation? And you get somebody else. And then the next time comes around and you find somebody else. Okay, this company we think is now worth $10 billion. Who's going to lead this round, right? So if you have different people leading different rounds, you get a consensus, you get an idea that you're not huffing your own farts. The problem that happened with WeWork is that SoftBank kept leading consecutive rounds of investment. We're going to lead the round at $5 billion, and then we're going to lead the round at $10 billion, and then we're going to lead the round at $20 billion, and then we're going to lead the round. And the problem was they weren't getting input from the rest of the investment community to say, hey, maybe an office room rental company isn't worth $45 billion. And they were about to IPO. People actually got to take a look at WeWork's numbers. And after 2 years, basically, WeWork went bankrupt. WeWork went from a quote-unquote $45 billion valuation to bankrupt in something on the order of 2 years. And the reason was because of fucking SoftBank. SoftBank has God knows what the fuck is going on with those people, but it was absolutely insane. You need the validation from other people to verify that you're not just huffing your own farts when you talk about the valuations of these companies. It's very easy. Again, when we start talking about valuations of companies, it was one of those moments. It was one of those moments where I was sitting there with some old white guys, and I'm like, I don't understand startup valuation. And they just see the old white guys, and they just look at each other and like, fuck, we don't give a good response. This guy's just never gonna go away. And so basically what it comes down to is, it's just a feeling, Eli. Like when you look at a startup company, why is one startup company that's been around for 2 weeks valued at $100,000 and another startup company that's been around for 2 weeks valued at $10 million? It's the taste of it. It's the fucking taste. I shit you not. I know the people that write these fucking checks, and it's like, it tastes like a $10 million. You're like, what the fuck does that even mean, right? So anyways, that's why you need different investors looking at these investments, looking at these valuations to try to get that buy-in, to try to get the idea, right? Do other people have the same taste for this company or not? And the issue is that right now we have with this whole AI thing is what we're seeing. What we're seeing is the incestuous relationship with all of these tech companies that are coming together to try to pretend like there's interest when I just simply do not think there's that much interest. Tonight, I'm doing a class on the OpenAI API, which is very interesting, right? We're going to use Python and Bottle to create little AI apps, the whole 9 yards. And I'm not going to be mean about OpenAI. OpenAI's API is a valuable thing. It's not that fucking valuable. It's not that fucking valuable. So anyways, here's the insanity. Nvidia may take its partnership with OpenAI to the next level, according to the Wall Street Journal. The chip maker has discussed guaranteeing some of OpenAI's loans, a step that could make it responsible for billions in potential liabilities if OpenAI cannot cover its debts. The arrangement follows Nvidia's existing $350 billion leasing deal with OpenAI to supply up to 5 million chips used to train the company's next generation of AI models. Those chips from the backbone of OpenAI's sprawling infrastructure push, which includes massive data center projects across the US. Guaranteeing the loans would effectively make Nvidia a financial backstop for its biggest customer, blurring the line between supplier and underwriter. And think about this too. OpenAI is their biggest customer. OpenAI is one of their biggest cheerleaders. Don't get me wrong. There's some times when you might want to do this, right? If you're actually dealing with a startup company, not a $500 billion startup company, not a stupicorn, but maybe you're actually dealing with a unicorn. And maybe there's again, think about some company out there and they figured out how to use AI in order to parse electronic records better. Right? Hey, we have been able to build this AI system that goes into government public records and is able to suss out specific information that can be very valuable to governments and insurance agencies and that type of thing, right? They're a rather small company. They need the hardware, right? Remember, these Nvidia Blackwell GPUs are $40,000 a pop, $200,000 for one server, which means a rack of these fuckers might cost you about $10 million, right? And that's before you get to the colo facility and power and all that. So, right, if Jensen Huang is sitting there, wow, you know, I think this company might be onto something. I think I'm really impressed with what this company is doing. And if they explode exponentially, they could be the next OpenAI and buy a hell of a lot more of those $10 million racks from us. So we will be a financial backstop, right? This entire company is worth sub $1 billion. Our company is worth $4 trillion. I think this is a safe bet, right? That, again, still questionable if you really want to be a backstop, but again, that makes a logical sense. Like if you're a business person and you look at that, you're like, nah, I may not like it a lot, but I get where they're going with it. Think about this. They are being a financial backstop for their biggest customer. The reason that Nvidia is worth $4 trillion is because a company like OpenAI is buying $350 billion of GPUs. And now they're saying, well, to make sure that OpenAI can buy $350 billion in GPUs, we're going to backstop the loans so that they continue to buy that so that our valuation stays up and increases, right? It's $4 trillion now. If it's $4 trillion now, the question is, how does it get to 40 trillion? Oh, Lord, this is stupid. If OpenAI's growth slows or its cash flow tightens, Nvidia could find itself indirectly holding the bag for the very loans that helped build OpenAI's infrastructure. And not only that, but now Nvidia is tying their stock valuation to OpenAI, right? Because if OpenAI can't pay the loans, then Nvidia has to step in. SEC filings, they have to state that they're stepping in. People are going to say, well, wait a minute, if OpenAI is slowing down and they're like one of the biggest gorillas out there, what the hell is going to happen to the other countries? Maybe Nvidia isn't worth what we think it's worth. Oh, this is just bad. This is just so fucking. we are in the age of the stupicorn investments, and this is going to blow up, right? This is not a bias thing. This is not a worldview thing. This is not a lived experience thing. This is a fucking math problem. And the issue that you see here is all of these companies are in collusion. They are in collusion to boost the value of the concept of artificial intelligence, right? If artificial intelligence is more dangerous than a nuclear weapon, if artificial intelligence will tip the very balance of power for the superpowers of the world, if artificial intelligence can do all of these things, then it's basically worth an unlimited amount of money. So all of these companies are dumping all of this money in, but then they have to start showing some metrics for why should they be worth $4 trillion instead of $4 billion, that type of thing. And so now basically what they're doing is they're cooking their books quite publicly. They're squeezing the snakes in front of all of us. But at the end of the day, it's all just gonna fall apart. I'm telling you, AI is just not that valuable. AI is valuable. It's like when you think about AI, and we talk about like things like process. This is what we go over in classes and things. When you think about the actual processes of how things work out, like one of the questions to ask is, do you want your LLM or your model to look at documents and pull out specific information? So a document goes into the LLM, right? For an inference, it pulls out the specific information and it dumps it into your database, right? When the LLM does that, that takes a lot of electricity, it takes a lot of power, that takes a lot of resource consumption. Or do you want to feed the LLM the type of document that you are trying to pull the information out of? You want to then ask the LLM what are the appropriate regex statements to pull out the information that you care about. And then simply with Python, do you want to then process all of those documents using those regex statements versus the LLM itself? Right, that's an architecture thing. What does the actual scraping, the LLM or the Python with the regex? Right, Python with the regex isn't going to take very much electricity, isn't going to take very much resources. It can just process all day long. Versus the LLM, right? You're gonna, I don't know, melt a glacier or two in order to digitize all of your documentation. That's one of the things to be thinking about with architecture. It's interesting, like with the whole thing too, with these smaller models. They're now using smaller models with the reasoning models, much smaller models that use a hell of a lot fewer resources, but they kind of put them into loops in order to refine what the answer is. Instead of having basically a one-shot where you put in your request and the response comes out and you want it to be good, so that's where you use a frontier model, right, that burns a glacier in order to get that for you. Basically what happens with a much smaller model is you ask it the question, it can then turn the question you ask into something that it can understand better, right? This kind of like IBM's idea of stacking models. So it'll reformat the question so that it's easier for it to be able to respond to. It will then respond. The response, you then feed back what the request was with the response and say, is this good? And it says, let me tweak it a little bit more, let me tweak it a little bit more, let me tweak it a little bit more. And then you actually get a response back. What they're finding is going through these loops that these models, like these incredibly small models, can actually perform at the level of these frontier models that these companies are putting out. And that's the issue that we're getting into here, is you have to understand with artificial intelligence, right? This is not a mature, this is an immature technology stack. We do not know what the mature stack is going to look like. And I don't think it's going to look like what these people are talking about, right? You can run LLMs on a Raspberry Pi, right? If you're trying to pull out specific information, again, do you need a frontier model or do you need a Pi? And, when they're talking about, just $350 billion in investments and loans and all that kind of stuff, per company. Does that level of money make sense? And the answer is fucking no. Fuck no, fuck no, fuck no. Hey, Jensen Huang, would you be ever so kind as to not destroy our fucking society because of your goddamn hubris? That would be lovely. But anyways, he's a Silicon Valley bastard, so he's got that brain syphilis. The most important thing is that stock value is not how you're going to fuck everybody else on the planet because of your shit. So anyways, hey, I tell you what I think. So what do you think about this? What do you think about Nvidia backstopping loans for OpenAI? I mean, oh my, and this is after a $100 billion investment into OpenAI. Like, is there any part of this? You're like, no, Eli, well, you gotta understand it. Like, can anybody with a fucking straight face actually tell me what I need to understand here? I don't know. Put your thoughts down below. If you like these videos, give us a thumbs up. If you hate these videos, give us a thumbs down. Call me amazing. Call me a dumbass. Just be a real Lutnick and do it down there in the comment section. Do you remember Silicon Dojo? SiliconDojo.com is what I actually care about. I am driving off to teach a class in Durham, North Carolina tonight. We are doing classes basically about every 2 weeks right now on Python and artificial intelligence and databases and all that kind of stuff. Go to SiliconDojo.com if you're interested in participating in those classes. Do remember, free to be a user is not actually free. There's a donor box link down below if you want to throw some money in there to help me be able to pay for these classes. And with that, see y'all later.